Good morning, traders. It's 8:03 a.m. Chicago time, 9:03 Eastern on Thursday, just before Good Friday, the 13th of April, 2017. Thanks for joining me again. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Again, as always, looking at the market stance today, the market is in a defensive mode. It's trading lower this morning than where it closed yesterday. Currently, the S&P 500 is trading at 2335.50. Yesterday's close in the S&P was at 4050. We're about 5 points lower this morning, trading beneath the last 2 days worth of balance. The laggard today is the Euro stocks, down 24 points or 0.71%, followed by the DAX. The gainer today is gold. Gold is trading up $11.40, trading at $1,289.50, up 0.89%. Crude oil is trading up 12 cents at 53.23 or up 0.23%. The dollar is getting hammered a little bit this morning, down 0.4 on comments from Donald Trump, President Donald Trump yesterday. His comment, quoted from the Wall Street Journal, says, "I think our dollar is getting too strong, and partially that's my fault because people have confidence in me." So he may be setting the Treasury's attention to a weaker dollar, which increases the value of gold and dollar-denominated commodities. This morning we kicked off some more reports. This morning the concentration was in financials. We started out with JP Morgan, which had a blockbuster release, had a record release today. Q1 earnings came in at $1.65 versus $1.51 estimated in JP Morgan. 25.6 billion in managed revenues, versus 24.6 that came out at about 5:38 Central, 6:38 Eastern. Following that, we got Citigroup at 6:59 Central, 7:59 Eastern. Citigroup reported $1.35 versus $1.24, also strong. Revenues at 18.1 billion versus 17.8 billion. And the third major release was from Wells Fargo at 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern. Wells Fargo reported 99 cents versus 97 estimated. Remember, Wells Fargo got into a lot of trouble with some irregularities, some fraud as far as opening accounts and things like that. 22.0 billion revenue versus 22.1 expected, so just a slight miss. Credit losses came in at 646 million versus 720 expected year on year. Other news, China made a move on the yuan this in the overnight session. First time in the PBOC sets the yuan midpoint at 6.8651. This is the strongest yuan setting since February 7th. If you recall, yesterday the numbers for inflation in China came out pretty weak. So it's making a move to bolster that. Initial claims came out this morning, 234,000 versus 245,000, so slightly better. Continuing claims 2.03 versus 2.02 million expected, slightly worse. And then, of course, the last thing we got here, half hour ago, was the March PPI final demand. Came in at negative 0.1 versus 0.0 expected, 2.3 versus 2.4 year on year. So that's what's pushing things around in the overnight session. As I said, this morning's market's a little bit lower. Looking ahead at what we're expecting coming into today, the key release that's ahead of us is the 10 a.m. Eastern U.S. University of Michigan Confidence prelim for April, expecting 96.5. This can move the markets. This is a high-tiered number. And then the Baker Hughes rig count, we're getting natural gas at 10:30, and then the Baker Hughes rig count one. Baker Hughes normally comes out on Friday, but reminder to everyone again that tomorrow is Good Friday and all markets are closed. All major markets are closed. And then Monday we resume Sunday night as usual, except that European markets are closed on Monday as well. Expected to be a very quiet, low volume session there. So let's switch gears and look at what we expected yesterday versus what we got. Here's your primary expectation yesterday. The key element yesterday was we were expected to have an open auction, quiet trade. I was expecting a push down to 2340. Key support here. It's the low volume node, and between these two distributions, it is also a key level from a couple weeks ago, a week ago, and a week before that. The expectation is that we would drop in there and move back up into the upper distribution and finish somewhere in the middle of the range. That was hypo 1. Hypo 2 is an early test down, and then the market takes a bid and starts to move and head back up to 2353 quarter, which is the MC point of control in the area. That's the area that we're expected to be tested. Yesterday played out hypo 1, but not in the sequence that was expected. Here's what we actually got. This is my trigger chart. What we actually got is an open auction early. We tested the overnight low very quickly, but we got this open auction quite early. And then we rotated down and through. This is where the low volume node is right here, 2340. If I can draw a straight line, that has a slope in it, but that's the area that was expected to be support, expected a higher low and then a push, and then for it to finish somewhere in there. If you recall, again, here's what the primary hypo looked like, okay? And here's what we got. So there's no real strong rotation up. The market was mostly sideways. The distribution yesterday was fairly even, fairly Gaussian. It does have a little bit of a double distribution to it, but there isn't a clear low volume node. The value area is valid yesterday for today, and of course this morning we're trading beneath at 2336. I'm expecting 2340 to act as initial resistance coming in. 2340 all the way up to 2342 is expected to be initial resistance this morning. The overnight session, we may be able to get out of here in time. The overnight session, you could see here that we really could not do much. We closed, we opened at the same price, and we immediately tested lower. We tested below yesterday's low, and then we found bids, and it looked to me on the overnight that with the Asian Open, it looked to me like we were done on the downside. This looked like a pretty good, up to this point, this looked like a pretty good taper, pretty good excess low, and the market's starting to rotate up and potentially stay inside of the prior day's range. And then Europe opened, and when Europe opened, it gave us this nice quick push down. Remember, the Euro stocks and the DAX are leading downwards, and it hasn't been able to recover. We're still beneath the mid of the session, beneath VWAP. We're trading beneath yesterday's low. It changes things a fair amount from the time I looked at the market last night before shutting down. Delta, you can see Delta here getting hammered, 21,000 to the downside. We don't see that often. Inventory is short in price and in volume. There's a fair amount of selling that came into last night's session. The volume is very high, 259,000. Yesterday's volume was pretty good too. So there's a fair amount of activity in here, but the volume is pretty high, and the sell volume here was pretty strong. So there's a strong selling sequence going on here. This is an impulsive move, pulling back to mid, and then looking for a continuation lower at some point today. The initial response is expected to be on the buy side to balance out inventory and for the auction to retest the prior range before it continues lower. So let's zoom in a little bit here. So the expectation this morning is for us to open, looking for an open auction out of range, looking for responsive buying up to 40, up to 23.40, and a potential for push to 43 or 42.50 or so. And then I'm looking for this to start moving down and into this low volume zone. You see this on the profile. This is a profile of everything dating back to August 24th, 2015. You could see we're falling out of an area that has the decent amount of balance into an area that's very thin. And this, as we get below the overnight low is right at the top of the thin zone here. And as we go into the overnight low, the expectation is that we are likely to continue lower for a bit, but ultimately look for a pop higher on the close. Remember, here on Tuesday, we had what is basically an impulsive move down. We have responded back. We have gone sideways yesterday. Yesterday was a completely inside day, and now this is like today is likely to give us a continuation move. One thing to remember though, today it is the last day before the holiday weekend, and we are likely to see the trade dry up fairly quickly on the European close. So after 11:30 or so Eastern time, noon or so, the expectation is the market's likely to go sideways. So why am I telling you that? I don't know if it will or not, but you need to know that so that you can make sure that you're not making huge commitments. Um, you're not making huge commitments into the afternoon, right? So if you're down and it's getting to noon Eastern or so, you might want to just scale back and get even more picky. Don't get more aggressive because the opportunities are likely to get smaller and smaller until the closing range, until the closing half hour of the stock market. That's my expectation. Of course, I'm not an oracle. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just basically working off of the past. Okay, and as I said earlier, past performance is not indicative of future results. We don't know, but that's what we plan on. So anyway, open auction, test higher early. I'd love to see an attempt higher. I'd love to see offers coming in. We saw this a little bit yesterday. When we look at the order flow, you see this this move at 1 o'clock here. This is what I want to see. I want to see strong lifts. You see these strong bubbles here, the dots for large size trading, and then I want to see these white lines come in, these strong offers come in, and just stop the market in its tracks. That's just an example of a good area to sell, right? So as the market moves up, I'm always hunting using this execution platform. I'm always hunting for areas where there are these strong dots coming up, but size on the offer increases or stays stable. And then what you generally get is a quick flush the other way, and that's basically what I look for on the open when I'm looking to sell against the prior point of control, the prior range. The secondary hypothesis is it doesn't do that. It opens out of range and it immediately continues the overnight drop and then tests the overnight low. If it tests the overnight low early, I expect that it'll find a bounce fairly quickly. So I'm going to be looking for a low and then a reattempt, a failed attempt at the low, and then I'm going to look for a return towards 2340, 2342, and that would be hypo 2. And I expect it to close in the range in both cases. I expect hypo 1 to drop and come back. I'm expecting hypo 2 to test lower and come back. Okay. Hypo 3 is a test up. I won't draw it. I'm out of time. I'll let you go. Remember, tomorrow is Friday, Good Friday. I will not be doing a trader bite. There is no trading. Enjoy your time off, and if you observe the day, enjoy your services, and I'll catch you on Monday. Remember, next Wednesday we have an open public AMA through Futures IO at 4:30 Eastern on Wednesday the 19th. If you have questions, it's a great way to come in and discuss certain aspects of trading, and I'll answer everything that I'm getting as far as questions. Please hit the like button. Tomorrow's normally Like Friday, but we don't have Like Friday this week. Please hit the like button. If you don't see a like button on the bottom of the broadcast, please hit the YouTube button. If you can find it, go to the YouTube version of the broadcast and hit the thumbs up. That helps me get ranked, and it helps me get help when I need it from YouTube. Cheers, and I'll see you soon. Take care.